What is that? What is that? Coming to paperback and Kindle this fall, E-Steam Blast from the Past. Hell's aspiring angel takes on her demonic doppelganger in this time-traveling, action-packed E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of E-Steam Blast from the Past on Kindle with a bonus E-Steam comic or wait for the paperback this fall. According to DC Comics and its partner, Rooster Teeth, this is supposed to be the cover for Wonder Woman 1984 #1's variant cover. And according to the artist who designed this cover, Robin Eisenberg, this is supposed to be some sort of one-off piece of an alien with a realistic body type wearing an everyday version of the Wonder Woman outfit. Now, that's what your Robin Eisenberg alleges that this cover is supposed to be, but as a publisher, I see a cover that goes far below the standards of what DC Comics should accept and shows us how low standards have fallen at DC Comics. Now, a multi-billion-dollar corporation like DC Comics, you would think, would want to put its best foot forward on a product that is representing its brand on a multi-million-dollar motion picture. And on a product that is supposed to be representing a multi-million-dollar motion picture like Wonder Woman 84, you would think they would go out here and look for the very best artist available. Unfortunately, the comic book industry, which is now under the grasp of the female Portland Mafia and the Whisper Network, wants to go out here and give opportunities to artists who clearly aren't qualified based on merit. And when we look at this image, your Robin Eisenberg clearly isn't qualified based on merit to be granted a cover like the one for Wonder Woman 1984, a cover that is representing a product that is representing DC Comics as related to the general public, and something representing one of their tentpole films. Here is a woman given an opportunity to make a powerful first impression on the world as related to representing one of DC's top tier characters, and instead of her making an effort to give us something that makes a powerful impression on the viewers of Wonder Woman, she goes out here and makes a woke statement to promote her identity politics and promote the identity politics of alleged body positivity and to promote the woke narratives that this artist wants to push. And this right here on this cover, this image shows the weakness of DC Editorial as related to enforcing standards. Because again, when you have a company product that is representing the company not only to comic collectors, but to the general public, you want to make sure that your product fits right in line with the movie so that it can synergize and be sold right along with the movie tickets and leave, a powerful first impression on those customers out here. That's what you think that DC Comics would want to do with a comic product that ties into a movie that costs anywhere from $200 to $300 million, and again is representing the general public. But it seems like the SJWs who are working at DC don't understand anything about product synergy, nor do they understand anything about standards. Everything is about their identity politics, and here they have, in their way, going to push their identity politics, embarrassed DC Comics with this variant cover, which really does not present a good picture of the 1980s, the era I grew up in, nor does it really present a good image of the iconic character of Wonder Woman. Because when you look at this image, you really do not see the spirit of the 1980s really captured in this image, nor do you see a really strong image of a flagship or top tier character like Wonder Woman on this cover. Now, many of these same woke types out here and these feminists, these same women, when I was out here publishing the ISIS series covers that featured hand-drawn images of the goddess next door, and because I didn't have the money to go out here and hire professional artists, these same women would say that my covers for the ISIS series were lousy book covers, and they would lambast these covers in private on their Facebook groups and their message boards. However, these same women on this Wonder Woman 1984 cover, they will talk about how this is a great image of body positivity and female empowerment, showing us all the double standard as related to how they will perceive art. And they will sit there and have DC Comics pay for an extremely poor quality image like this and talk about how it's all about body positivity and female empowerment, and how this is some sort of alien representation of Wonder Woman, as Robin Eisenberg alleges. But when I look at this piece, I see a really poor and uninspired image that really should never have even gotten past the sketch stage as related to a commission. Because any editor who commissions a piece like this and sees it of such poor quality in the sketch stage is going to say, all right, I'm sorry, thank you for your time, but this is just not what I'm looking for. And they're going to let that artist go because that piece is going to lead to a bad first impression on all of the customers out there, customers who want to see an image of Gal Gadot in an artistic style, not some sort of social justice narrative being pushed and promoted in their faces. That's what the customers are going to say they want on a Wonder Woman 1984 cover. And what DC Comics gave them was this woke image on the variant cover, an embarrassment to a multi-billion-dollar brand, something that flies over the heads of all of those women in the Portland Mafia and the Whisper Network. They have practically embarrassed AT&T and DC Comics with this variant cover, and they have embarrassed themselves because they show they really don't have good business skills and they don't understand the impact one image can have on a business and the damage that a bad image can do to a brand. And what the really sad thing about this image shows is how inept the women who run the Whisper Network and the Portland Mafia truly are, because they sat there and went out here and let this artist do this image because it was supposed to be about a female empowerment. However, there were many qualified male and female artists out there with great portfolios who could have gone out here and commissioned a far better piece than this fourth grader scribblings, and could have done a far better job with this image. And DC Comics has gone out of its way to turn down many of these great and talented artists out here, and that's the real shame as related to this Wonder Woman 1984 cover. Here we have an image that looks like something a fourth grader would draw, and it's on a multi-billion-dollar corporation's cover, something that is supposed to leave a first impression on customers, and the comic book industry believes that this is a good thing. I'm sorry, but no, this isn't a good thing. If the same woke people would not accept this type of image on an ISIS series cover for an SJS DIRECT book from an independent publisher, then why should we accept this type of substandard image on the cover of a DC comic from a multi-billion-dollar corporation? I mean, that clearly shows us how these woke types have a double standard as related to the products they produce. When they produce substandard products, they want to make excuses for us to accept them. But when indie guys like me make the same types of products because we don't have the money or the resources, they want us to improve our game, and then when we improve our game, these same woke types don't want to support the product. Again, showing us all the double standards they have and how they want to make us accept substandard as the standard when it's their stuff, but when it's our stuff, they tell us to step up. Again, double standards for them, and this type of double standard, again, hurts the comic book industry, because when you have covers this bad on your product, it leads to a very negative first impression on the customer when it's especially coming from a multi-billion-dollar corporation. When a multi-billion-dollar corporation signs off on garbage like this, when there are far more talented artists out there, it really shows us how weak the editorial there truly is, because your editorial has to have some sort of standards as related to what type of art is going to be produced, making sure that art fits within a house style, and making sure that that art is up to par. And if your people can't understand what standards represent as related to art and staying true to model, then those people shouldn't be working for you. And when I listen to the excuses that Ms. Eisenberg gave for this Wonder Woman cover, they wouldn't fly at SJS Direct right now, because when I ask an artist to do a cover, one of the standards I have for doing my covers is staying on model. If you can't stay on model, I'm not going to hire you. And if you cannot make sure that the characters remain consistent to the model sheets I send to you, then you're not going to get the job. And the other thing that I saw with this cover is her trying to say, I'm going to tell my own story. I mean, no, you don't get to tell your own story with commercial characters. You tell the story that the publisher is asking you to tell. So this cover really shows the weakness of leadership at DC Comics, because again, when you have a product that is representing you on movie theater shelves and representing your big movie adaptation, there is no time or place for you to go and try to create your own artistic interpretation. That is when we need you to stay true to model, and that's when we need you to stay true to what we're selling in that movie theater lobby. And again, this variant shows the weakness of leadership at DC Comics under Jim Lee, and it shows just how things have fallen to an all-time low. Dan Dido may be gone from DC Comics, but the low standards still remain at DC Comics due to weak leadership from Jim Lee and the influence that was left by Brian Michael Bendis and his legacy hookups from the Portland Mafia and the Whisper Network, who are creating and giving passes to people like this who create poor quality pieces and then use the excuse of female empowerment to get a pass for producing poor quality work. Well, I'm sorry. Again, if they came to SJS Direct with this type of poor quality work, I would reject you almost immediately, because again, I have standards like 1, staying on model, 2, making sure that your model and your compositions stay true to the story I submitted to you and the storyboards I submitted to you, and 3, making sure that the story I want represented is on the page and stays consistent with what's on the page of the book. And again, this is embarrassing for DC Comics, because here you have all of these talented, and I have seen so many talented and qualified artists out here, and all of those artists deserved an opportunity to work for DC Comics. I mean, I've seen pages that blow the doors off this trash, and those pages, those artists should have been given an opportunity over this artist who really didn't put her best foot forward. I mean, she was running on the whole idea of being a woman, and that's just not enough when you're in the commercial art game. When you're in the commercial art game, it's not about your gender, it's about what you put on the page, and it's also about your professionalism, because what you put on the page, by staying true to the model and staying true to what the what the producers wanted you to tell in terms of story, what they wanted to tell in terms of story, that shows how you are a professional, and that's what's going to get you more jobs. What I see here, again, is an artist who couldn't stay on model, who went and told her own story, and those are standards that are unacceptable in the trade publishing game, and they would lead to you not getting any more jobs. But in the comic book industry, because we have so many weak leaders due to the Whisper Network and the Portland Mafia putting a stranglehold on the jobs, people like this come in, get a pass, and continue to produce poor quality work, which hurts the comic book industry, because this variant cover isn't going to be collectible for positive reasons. It's going to be collectible because it's absolutely ridiculous, and most people who do, the few people who do buy it, will be buying it for how awful it is. Meanwhile, thousands of copies of this variant are going to languish on store shelves, while the regular may sell out. So this is not a good deal for DC Comics, because variants are supposed to be something people chase, and I don't see many people chasing this variant outside of seeing it as something that they would want to laugh at or make mockery of. I mean, this is the type of comic that your boy Zach would buy just to laugh at it, and many other people would buy it just to rip it and roast it. So this is not a good deal for DC Comics, and DC Comics really needs to get a really strong editor-in-chief in there who will check foolishness like this and let artists know what the standards are as related to house style, as related to character models, and let them know the only way you're going to get paid for this work for hire is if you stay on model and you follow the storyboards we give you. If you'd like to try some of my books in the SJS DIRECT imprint featuring strong heroines like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, and the Thetas, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to try some of my if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.